Good day, learners. I am Sir AJ Cresmundo, and welcome to my channel. Today, we will be learning something new again, and our topic for today is forecasting. If you are interested to know more about how to use MS Excel in doing forecasting techniques, this video is for you. So we'll start our discussion with forecasting. First, before we discuss the techniques, let's first discuss the components of forecasting. So there are a variety of forecasting methods that are available for use depending on two things. First, the time frame of the forecast, and second, the existence of patterns. As to time frames, it can be a short range forecast, for example, 1 to 2 months. It can be a medium range from 2 months to 2 years, and it can be a long range forecast, which can range from more than 1 or 2 years. As to patterns, there are forecasts that are considered as a trend. This is a long-term movement of the item being forecast. There are also what we call random variations. These are movements that are not predictable and they follow no pattern. There are also what we call cycles, or a movement, an up and down movement that repeats itself over a lengthy time span. And we have finally the seasonal pattern. It is an oscillating movement in demand that occurs periodically in the short run. If we put it in a graph, this will be how this forecast patterns will look like. Letter A graph, as you see here, this is a trend. This one here that goes up and down is a cycle. This one here, letter C, this is the seasonal pattern. And on letter D, this is the pattern of trend but with season. So iba-iba yung itsura ng mga patterns natin when it comes to forecasting. So what are the methods that we use? There are three methods that we use in doing forecasting. The first method is the time series method. This is a statistical technique that uses historical data to predict future behavior. So kung meron tayong historical information, then we can use that to predict what will happen in the future. We also have regression methods. In a regression method, regression or causal methods attempt to develop a mathematical relationship between the item being forecast and the factors that cause it to behave the way it does. Meaning, meron tayong variables that are dependent on certain other variables. And the third method is the qualitative method. These methods use judgment, expertise, and opinion to make forecasts. So we will first discuss time series methods. Statistical techniques that make use of historical data collected over a long period of time is called a time series. This assumes that what has occurred in the past will continue to occur in the future. So meron siyang assumption that this trend will continue. But forecast is only based on one factor, that is time. So parang nagiging factor lang dito is time, no other external factors when we talk about time series. So the first statistical technique that we can use for time series is the moving average. Moving average uses values from the recent past to develop forecast. This dampens random increases and decreases kasi yung pinaka-ginagamit niya lang is yung pinaka-recent lang na data. This is useful for forecasting relatively stable items that do not display any trend or seasonal pattern. And the formula for moving average is the summation of the demand or the data in the period I, and N is the number of periods in the moving average. We don't have to memorize the formula since I will show you later how to do it in Excel. So for example, school supplies company wants to forecast orders for the month of November. Develop 3-month and 5-month moving averages using this data. So this is the data. We should develop a forecast for November. So to do that, this is how you compute it. The 3-month moving average, since we are looking for the forecast for November, let us look at the data for October, September, and August. So that's 90 plus 110 plus 130 divided by 3 months. So the moving average for the past 3 months is 110. If we use 5-month moving average, the formula would be the last 5 months. So that would be from June, July, August, September, October. So divided by 5, the moving average is 91 orders. If we put it in a graph, this is how it will look like. This line is the actual demand. The broken line, the shorter broken line is the 3-month forecast, moving average. And the longer broken line is the 5-month moving average. Now, we need to use a more statistical accurate technique to use time series method. That is what we call the exponential smoothing. Exponential smoothing weights recent past data more strongly than more distant data. So mas maganda to kasi meron siyang statistics involved. There are two forms of exponential smoothing. Meron tayong simple and adjusted. But what we will focus today is only the simple exponential smoothing. And the most used values of alpha are between 0.10 and 0.50. Determination is usually judgmental and subjective and often based on trial and error experimentation. So I will teach you how to do exponential smoothing using MS Excel. So when you open MS Excel, for example, we have this demand data from January to December, and our alpha is 0.5. So how do we now compute for the forecast using exponential smoothing? So we just go to data and click data analysis and then look for exponential smoothing. For the input range, we will put there the demand data, which is B8 to B19. And then the damping factor is the alpha, which is 0.5. And the output range will be our forecast column, which is from C8 to C20. When you click OK, that would how it will look like. So, of course, for the month of January, wala pang forecast kasi 1 month, present month lang yung data niya. So, hindi pa siya pwedeng gumawa ng forecast. Pero for the succeeding months, meron na siyang forecast data and kinompute niya yun using exponential smoothing. And we want to generate a chart for this. Let's highlight that table. Okay. And then go to insert and then go to charts. We choose this line graph with markers. So when you click that, bibigyan niya kayo ng chart. So the blue line, when you look at that, is the demand line. while the red line is the forecast line. So you see there the actual demand and the forecasted demand. That is how you do forecast using exponential smoothing. So let us now proceed to the second method of forecasting, which is the regression methods. So time series techniques, as we discussed a while ago, only relate to a single variable being forecast to time. So meaning, ang kinonsider lang natin na factor is time lang. For regression, it is a forecasting technique that measures the relationship of one variable to one or more other variables. So we now consider other variables other than time. The simplest form of regression is the linear regression. So for example, this is an example of a state university wherein they consider that the wins of their team affects the attendance of their students in the games. So these are the wins, these are the attendance. Normally, when we compute this manually, there are two things that we need to compute: the product of x and y and the x squared, or we square the x. So when we do it manually, this is how the table will look like. You just get the sum of all of this. And the mean for x is 6.125. That would be the total divided by the number of independent variables, which is 8. The mean of y is 43.34. We compute for the slope of the line as this one. So b is the slope of the line. In the formula, y is equals to a plus bx. You do not need to memorize the formula. We will do it in Excel later. So we got 4.06. And the intercept of the line is 18.46. When we substitute it in the formula, therefore y is equal to 18.46 plus 4.06x. Meaning, every time meron ka ng number of wins, pwede mo nang i-forecast ilan yung magiging attendance mo. So for example, if you have 7 wins, when you substitute 7 sa formula, the attendance will be 46,880. That is manual. Later, we will see how to do it in MS Excel. Now, we need to remember this concept, the correlation. What is a correlation? Correlation is a measure of the strength of the relationship between independent and dependent variables. The formula is something like this. You don't have to memorize this because we will compute it using MS Excel later. But the point is, the value that you will get from this computation lies between positive 1 and negative 1. Value of 0 indicates little or no relationship at all between the variables, and values near 1 and negative 1 indicates a strong relationship. Sana all strong relationship. But kidding aside, when the value is near positive 1, then meaning yung relationship is direct. As x increases, y also increases. But if the value is near negative 1, that means the relationship is inverse, meaning as x increases, y decreases. So in our example, when we substitute it in the formula, the answer for the correlation R is 0.948. That means sobrang malapit siya sa 1. That means strong ang relationship ng wins at ng attendance. The second concept that we need to remember is the coefficient of determination. From the term itself, it is the percentage of the variation in the dependent variable that results from the independent variable, meaning how many percent of your dependent variable ay dahil sa mga independent variable. So this is computed by just squaring the correlation coefficient R. So for example, sa example natin, if the R is 0.948, if we square that, the answer is 0.899, meaning 89.9% of the amount of variation in the attendance is explained by the number of wins by the team. The remaining 10% is due to other unexplained factors. So meaning most of the attendance ay dahil talaga sa wins na ginawa ng team. So that is the coefficient of determination. So now, how do we solve all of those using MS Excel? So we go to Excel. So for example, nandito yung wins natin and nandito yung attendance natin as X and Y. The first thing that we have to do is we get the total of our wins. So we just get the formula sum and then select the numbers from A6 to A13. And then we do the same with the attendance. So we just drag it. Yan. So the total wins is 49 and the total attendance is 346,700. So siguro i-highlight lang natin ng yellow para klaro siya. Okay. So first is we will compute for A or the intercept of the line. Diba? Y is equals to A plus BX. So for A, when we compute for the intercept, we just use this formula, equal sign, and then intercept. Yan. So double-click that function, intercept. When you look at the formula, ang unang niyang hinihingi ay yung Y and then yung X. So you just highlight yung Y or yung attendance, that is B6 to B13, and then the X is from A6 to A30. So ganun lang kadali. The intercept is 18,464, just the same as what we computed kanina manually. So mas madali talaga sa MS Excel. For the slope, the B, we just use the function equal sign and then type slope. Yan, double click. Same as kanina, we first select the Y and then the X. So for the Y, that's B6 to B13. And then the the X is A6 to A30. Yan. So our slope is 4,060.92. So just the same as sa na-compute natin kanina. So when we substitute this sa ating formula, Y is equal to A or the E6 plus BX or E7. Ayan. So ganyan yung formula natin. Y is equals to 18,464.37 plus 4,060.92x. So what if 7 ang wins? So if 7 ang wins, we just substitute it in the formula. So that would be equal to 18,464.37 plus 4,060.92 times 7. Kasi 7 daw yung X. So yan. The attendance, if 7 ang wins, would be 46,890. Same as what we computed kanina. Now, how do we compute for the correlation coefficient R? Very simple lang din. What we need to do is just type equal correl. And then the array 1 is yung X, A6 to A13. And the array 2 is yung Y, B6 to B13. The correlation is 0.9478. Same as what we computed a while ago. Okay? So, ganun lang kadali. For intercept equals intercept, for slope equals slope, and for correlation coefficient equals correl. So, what if we want to make a scatter graph out of this? So, you just highlight the table and then go to insert and then charts. Usually, I go for recommended charts. Meron yan dyan, scatter graph. So, just click that. Ayan. So, the graph will look like this. If you don't want to do it something like this, meron pang shorter way, which is we just go to data and go to data analysis and then look for regression. Here. Click OK. The input Y range, just get the input Y range, which is B6 to B13. And then the X range is A6 to A13. So, ganun lang siya kadali. And then, you just check confidence level. And then, siguro yung output range natin, let's just put it in a new worksheet. Click OK. So, it will give you something like this. So, if you take a look at the correlation coefficients, that's 9478. And then the R square or the coefficient of determination is 89.83%. The intercept, look at the bottom table. The intercept, this is the intercept. And the x variable 1, this is the slope, 4,060.91. So that's how you do it using data analysis. Okay? So meron din tayong tinatawag na multiple regression. Multiple regression relates demand to two or more independent variables. Kanina kasi yung independent variable wins lang. So what if dalawa na sila? For example, does the addition of promotional and advertising expenditures to wins improve the prediction of attendance? So for example, eto, meron na tayong dalawa ng X, meron ng wins, meron pang promotion. And then this is the attendance. Okay? Let's see kung mag-i-improve ang ating correlation coefficient and the coefficient of determination. For this one, let's just do the Excel solution agad. So let's go back to Excel. So for example, ito na yung wins, ito yung promotion, at ito yung attendance. So the first thing is we get the sum, tulad ng kanina. So that's sum of A5 to A12. And then you just drag it hanggang dun sa Y. Okay. So, yan. So technically, what I will teach you is very simple. We will just do the data analysis way. So let's go to data and then click data analysis and then choose regression. For the input Y range, we get the Y, which is C5 to C12. For the input X range, since dalawa na yung X, i-highlight nyo lang lahat. So that would be A at saka B columns. So magiging A5 to B12. Yan. Then confidence level, let's just use new worksheet. Then click OK. Ayan. So if we will see here, the correlation coefficient is 94.91%. Pero ang R square or coefficient of determination is 90%. Meaning, 89.8 yung kanina. Ngayon, 90. So parang wala masyadong effect ang promotion. Parang kasi kanina 89.8, that's almost 90. Tapos ngayon naging 90. So that's 0.2% lang yung dinulot ng promotion dun sa attendance. So wala masyadong effect yung promotion sa attendance. Most of it is really because of the number of wins. This is the intercept, 19,000. The coefficient for the first variable, which is the wins, is 3,560. And the coefficient for the second variable, 0.03. So kung napapansin nyo, mababa yung coefficient for promotion kasi wala nga siya masyadong effect. So ganun lang kabilis gawin ang regression kahit multiple pa siya. We now go to the last method, which is qualitative method. The most common used technique is what we call the jury of executive opinion. This is a qualitative technique for long-term strategic planning. Normally, these are performed by individuals or groups within an organization, sometimes assisted by consultants and other experts whose judgments and opinions are considered valid for the forecasting issues. And it usually includes specialty functions such as marketing, engineering, purchasing, etc. in which individuals have experience and knowledge of the forecasted item. And dahil qualitative to, wala masyadong statistical method. So, very ano lang siya, very judgmental. But there are supporting techniques which we will not be discussing anymore in this video. They include Delphi method, market research, surveys, and technological forecasting. Maybe in the future when you take subjects in management accounting, this will be discussed. Okay? So there are three methods again. There are time series method, regression method, and we have the qualitative method. So thank you very much. That would be all for today. Thank you for reaching the end of this video. If you have any questions, you may comment to this video or you may message me to my personal account. Don't forget that we are lifetime learners. We do not stop learning and we learn something new every day. That would be all for today. Thank you so much. Bye.